All right, it's 4:30, and so we're gonna get started here. All right, fantastic. Thanks for everyone for coming. Appreciate it. I think I'm probably between you and lots of fun, right? Racing cars, shooting machine guns in the desert, right? You know, going to the Sphere. So, who went to the show last night? It was super cool, huh? It's not often in life where you kind of get like completely surprised by experiences like that. So it was really cool to see that. And we're just all glad that you all came and are having such a good time. So my name is Patrick Osborne. I'm SVP of product for storage within our hybrid cloud division. And so we're going to talk to you today some of the announcements that we made over the last month here at Discover and over the last couple of weeks. Alan's going to join me up on stage to talk a little bit about his experience with some of our products and HPE overall. And then as I'm going through the presentation, since we have a nice intimate audience here, if there's any questions, please feel free to jump in. Right, we want to make this as interactive and as awesome as possible. So please, if you have anything, a point to interject, a question, we want to get some clarification on some of the products, happy to take that on. And then my email address is it's just patrick.osborne@hpe.com. Or you can find me on LinkedIn, and we can connect after the show, after the session if anybody has any specific questions. But always love hearing from folks, connecting on LinkedIn, getting some, product direction. So here we go. We'll talk about a little bit of some forward-looking stuff, always subject to change. If you break this, then you have to take my kids for a week, all right? So I got 4 of them. So a couple things. We're here to talk about data, right? Not so much storage. So a couple things that I've really have resonated with me, especially at this Discover and talking with so many customers, is that outside of the traditional data center, a lot of the use cases that we're talking about now that are interesting and new for data. We talked about this today really early on some of the things we're doing in some of the public sector, right? What we're doing around security, what we're doing around hybrid cloud. There's some really cool displays with some of our partners, like BMW, for example. Like they have some amazing use cases at the edge, right, for autonomous driving, right? And so when we talk about that, and then you think about really scaled retail, there's a lot of cool stuff that's going on in the data area that's sort of outside of your typical rack and stack. So a lot of things that we're doing right now are enabling some of those use cases and certainly enabling hybrid. So data that's in the data center, data that is cloud adjacent, for example. So we have a number of partnerships with folks like Equinix or some of our service providers that provide GPU as a service. We're doing things that are certainly in the public cloud. I'll talk about that. And then some of the cool stuff that's going on at the edge everywhere, which is great. So it's not just a marketing slide. Like people are actually talking about some really big things at scale. Like so, for example, when we talked about BMW earlier, they're ingesting in their autonomous cars literally like almost 2 petabytes a day, right, at the edge, which is cool. And they have a lot of challenges around that we're helping them with. So for us, it's all about this rapid data growth. And a lot of the evolving workloads that are driving this are certainly in the structured data space, right? So you think about databases, both structured and semi-structured, what's going on with all the interesting new capabilities and options for your hypervisors, right? I know some of those are very well-attended sessions the last 2 days, what some of the options are going forward. And then certainly what's going on in the unstructured data space. And so for us, like we see, a huge demand for, in storage in general, and this is driving a lot of our design points in the product, right? So, back, think about, from a media perspective, we were, supporting things like 2 terabyte drives, 4 terabyte drives. Now, like we're on the cusp of talking about 128 terabyte, QLC media, right? Putting in, possibly, close to 4 petabytes in one rack unit, right? with things like EDSF ruler form factors. So there's a lot of cool things that are driving innovation because of this, right? How do I store? How do I protect? How do I mobilize the data? How do I analyze it, right? You know, I've had a lot of customers talk about this. How do I tag it? How do I analyze it? How do I associate metadata with the data? And certainly, how do I secure and govern that? So huge demand in this area. And then a lot of complexity, right? When you think about this data, how it's encoded, how it's tagged, how it's governed, and what happens when it leaves your data center, right? Because oftentimes it's in alternate locations. These are areas that we are concerned about, providing a set of data services that allow you to manage this, right? And we'll talk about how some of the things are going. So the whole theme, from my perspective, is the role of storage has certainly evolved, right? It's funny, I'm exec sponsor for a couple pretty large scale customers. One of them is a very large and established financial services firm, and they have a part of their data center where they have all their storage racks, and they still call it the DASD room. So like there's a lot of things in the processes that are really hard to get rid of, but really kind of what we're evolving to is that earlier on, storage was where data lives, right? And so we had to deal with it, right? You had to store it, make sure it was available, make sure it was protected, et cetera. And you try to drive down. It was mainly a TCO type of conversation, right? How can I get the lowest TCO for storing data? Now it's turned into a total, ROI conversation, right? So what can I do to make sure the data is accessible, to make sure the data is accessible to a large population of users, like within my company. And so this is essentially where data is coming alive, and that's all these really cool use cases that are coming out that we talk to and have a lot of customers here, and it's becoming a creator of value, right? And it sounds interesting when Antonio talks about this in the keynote, which is data is sort of like defining your balance sheet as a company, right? And so when you think about a company like HPE, right, all of our data, all of our intellectual property, so we have all this cool stuff going on. I'd say one of the cooler demos we have. If you go down to the storage area, a couple of the folks in our technical marketing engineering group, they essentially took an LLM and they tuned it with all of our technical data, right? So all of our product documentation, all of our our knowledge base, and so basically being able to do a small scale project like that, and then it provides essentially a really easy natural language interface to our partners and our SEs to essentially go out and say, hey, chat HPE, tell me more about Electra MP. This is what my customers' requirements are, and it spits out something that's easy to read, easy to size, for example. So there's all this stuff that's happening. It's really cool, and we got to stay in front of it from a data perspective. And so for me, these are essentially some of the areas functionally in the product in our portfolio that we're focusing on right now, right? So we want to provide one experience across the hybrid cloud, right? And that all starts and stops for us with GreenLake, and I'll get into some of the specifics later. But we have an intelligent storage architecture that's designed. At the end of the day, HPE is very well known, and we've had great products over the years, right? So we want to have an awesome, essentially storage and data management platform that addresses a number of use cases that start small, scales up, deals with structured data, unstructured data, but it's going to really optimize your resources to reduce costs. So what we're trying to do is provide a really efficient platform that's going to unlock savings for you that you can invest at the top of the pyramid, right? We want to simplify operations. So when you think about historically what we've done with products and experiences like InfoSight, right, we focused on how do you heavily automate the support experience, how do you automate some of the product experience. Now we're squarely focused on how to automate and help the operator, right? So the data center architect, the data center admin, your cloud architect, the things that we can do to simplify operations that happen on a daily basis, we want to do that, be responsible for it. And then essentially, how can we accelerate innovation on top of our platform, right? And so, ultimately at the end of the day, we're trying to, design an architecture that's going to drive growth, business outcomes for our folks, and ultimately an increase in value for the relationship between HPE and our customers. And we're doing this on a daily basis. But sort of like when I take those building blocks, right, where does it start? So we want to have a really like an optimized infrastructure that is going to run a set of workloads. It's going to provide, really the best cost envelope in the market. It's going to have a really reduced carbon footprint that we can prove to you and have it auditable, right, and have that information available to you through our Sustainability Insights Center. So this is all based on our Alletra Storage MP, right? So this is a disaggregated architecture that allows you to scale like multi-ways. And then also, it's a modern operating system and a modern architecture such that we provide they're industry standard components, but you can also take that same software and run that in the public cloud, right? So we have a cloud operational model and a cloud consumption model, and now we actually have the ability to run our software pretty much anywhere, right? And we'll talk a little bit about that later. And so we talk about the next area around simplifying operations. We have a cloud data services and control plane, right, in GreenLake. And I don't know if people were in Fidelma's keynote this morning, but people often equate GreenLake with a financial consumption model, right? I'm going to go from CapEx to OpEx. I'm going to, basically, how do I pay by the drip for the solution? Really, for us on the product side, is that this is a fully scaled cloud operational platform, right? So we've got, I think at this point we have over 10 zones globally where this runs. We're just on the storage side, not in total across the company, but just on the storage side, we've got, I think, over 16,000 systems that are being managed through DSCC, 8,000 active users, over 7 exabytes of data that's being managed through GreenLake. So it's a fully scaled cloud operational model where you can run, essentially all of your visibility, your observability, all of your management. And this is going to be driven by our global intelligence, right? Our AIOps analytics. It all happens there. Who's an InfoSight user? Anybody here? Got a bunch of hands up. Who's used SSMC in the past, right, for a 3PAR, right? All right, got some folks here. So basically, all the things that we've done in SSMC on-prem, right, all of the intelligence that we've had in InfoSight, whether it's like cross-stack analytics, predictive support, the labs, the modeling, all of that has come together, and it's all in DSCC. Right, so it's all in the cloud, it's all part of the platform, and so we have like a consolidated experience, all the peak signatures, it's pretty cool, and then you can apply all the hybrid cloud data services, in addition to all of our protocols, block, file, object. So very simple way to manage storage. It provides a lot of the global learning that we've had in the past, the automated support experience. And so this is where we're really working with our customers to define, how to simplify the operations so you don't have to worry about this. This is our job, right? To make storage dead simple, self-driving. You can place workloads where they're supposed to be. The systems perform, right? You can do rebalancing on the fly. So pretty cool. And then this allows us to, really focus on kind of the other areas of which is essentially like, how do you move that storage conversation from TCO to ROI, right? And so, what we're doing right now is a lot of the innovation that you've seen announced this week is focused on the top of the pyramid, right? Security, right? Things like Zerto, cyber resilience evolved, right? When you think about what we're doing around virtualization, right? Some new hypervisor options. How can we, through a disaggregated architecture like PCBE, optimize your footprint for VMware, right? While you kind of understand what that's going to look like for you over the next couple months or years. Analytics, AI, right, is huge. Some of our storage architectures are the base level components of our private cloud for AI, right? So when we build this foundation here, scalable, economic, really easy to do from an operational standpoint, then we're able to invest and help folks on some of the, the really interesting parts of the stack that will simplify that moving forward. And so for us, like, what does that result in, right? So these are like real numbers that we worked with our customers on. So lower hardware costs, like I'll make a pitch. If you are a 3PAR customer, right, Nimble Gen 3 customer, right, we have like amazing programs and it's an awesome TCO to move to Alletra MP, right? So I'd say take a look at it, right? It's a really compelling financial argument in addition to all the other savings you'll get, just from the CapEx savings alone on moving to the next generation systems, performance, all NVMe. It's really kind of a no-brainer. Since it's a scalable architecture, right? No over provisioning, right side scaling, very sustainable. We made a big announcement on Earth Day, back in April. All of our products and storage plug into our Sustainability Insights Center, right? Very important for a lot of our managed service partners, our customers, to be able to report on that. When you think about operations, right? Lower operating cost. Actually, that number around proactive support is actually above 90% now. So with all the peak signatures and the automation we do, 90% of the problems that you would have had to open a case for and call another vendor, we actually get in front of that, automatically open them, oftentimes automatically close them, and proactively reach out to our customers. And we back this up, right? I'll talk a little bit later about timeless, but we have a 100% data availability guarantee, right? We do a lot of work with DSCC and GreenLake to pre-stage, firmware updates. Oftentimes we're doing operating system updates on a 6-month barrier, but we're also doing updates to GreenLake, right, on every 2 to 4 weeks, right? So you don't have to wait 6 months to get access to the innovation, right? Since it's a SaaS delivery model, right, we're often delivering new experiences around the product, new analytics, et cetera, on a weekly and monthly basis. And then what we've seen from customers that are buying into this model, right? 80% shorter time to deliver these projects, a consistent experience for our customers. So there's a lot of tangible benefits. And so I'm going to get into a little bit on the architecture side here. So one of the things that we sat back and took a look at is what does a modern storage architecture look like, right, for our customers? So what we have is essentially what we call C nodes and D nodes, right? So your controllers will run the I/O, your processing, your bandwidth, right? Some of your storage data services. You've got a fabric, right? Now the fabric, we certainly support Fibre Channel. A lot of folks are investing in a really low latency, high bandwidth IP networks now. So NVMe over TCP is getting very popular in the data center, and we're using that as our backbone for our Alletra MP. And then scalable JBOFs, right? So you can think about we've got a 2-node system here, switched architecture, scaled down. What you can do is, let's say, we need more performance on the front end, right? We're going to dynamically add, new controller nodes to the equation. So start off with 2, we've moved to 3, right? You can scale that out. I need more capacity. I can add that to the equation as well too, right? And then so on and so forth. But then one of the beauty of the architecture is once I get to this and I get to like a future generation, I can actually cycle hardware. So data stays in place, right? You can do life cycling of hardware to the next generation, and we provide that in our new timeless guarantee, such that when we come out with a new hardware design in a year, right, 2 years, right, you'll have access to that. You can pop those controllers in. The data stays in place, right? This is a cool thing about Flash and NVMe. The duty cycle on that is much longer, right? So now customers are asking for 6, 7, 8, even 10-year TCO agreements, through GreenLake. So this enables customers to do that. So you can life cycle equipment, right? We can drop in, new controllers, with new capabilities. So today we use, for example, AMD SP3s with DDR4 and PCIe 5. Next generation will be AMD SP7, right, with DDR5 and PCIe Gen 6, right? So you can automatically get a huge bump, on performance and scalability, but while keeping your data in place, right? You can continue to expand that over time. You can, certainly do life cycling of our capacity, right? When some new larger capacities come out, for example. So it's super flexible and it's built as a future-proof architecture, right? So in the past, you'd have an active-passive system. You get through the life of that system, and then you got to go buy a new one, put it down, migrate all the data from point A to point B, right? So we don't have to do that anymore. And our architecture for structured data and both unstructured data, work on these similar principles, all while being managed through GreenLake. So for us, You can deploy workloads, right? Depending on what those are for your needs, right? Maximize your efficiency through like this really good modular architecture, all based on industry standard components, and really helps customers for really kind of focus on the higher bit order areas. And so for us, this is the architecture for the future, right? So you get a really good back-end architecture, active-active. N and M-way scalability, right, on the nodes, with a whole bunch of data services, AI-powered management framework, and best-in-class performance. We've had some huge wins lately, right? Like a couple weeks ago, we swept the floor of Dell and Pure at one of the major, U.S.-based telcos. We're out there competing on a daily basis. We've got a ton of customer references. So if anybody wants to talk about Alletra MP and the architecture, we've got it on the show floor with tons of subject matter excerpts available for you. And what we're doing is, I think the architecture is really cool, but we're able to, as I said before, we're building in this great experience into the product through GreenLake, right? So not only do we have all the things we've talked about on the support side, right? We have lifecycle operations. So you've got full visibility of your workload, right? Through the hypervisor or through the operating system, down through the compute, the networking, the storage, all available for you, right? So it can be a storage-oriented approach, or you can be doing this through our private cloud, right? So if you're familiar with DHCI and PCBE, right, you get this consistent APIs, right? So for customers who have invested in this platform, for example, you have APIs that you've written a set of workflows for on 3PAR, right? These will be supported, moving forward through GreenLake. So consistent API management, which is super important for automation. We do fleet management, data protection, all sort of stack automation through GreenLake. And then certainly all the things we do around performance analytics. We have some really cool stuff that's just come out around workload drift, latency, and then beyond. We're investigating, for example, building in some of the capabilities of Zerto, right, around cyber resiliency, live, real-time ransomware detection that's built into your storage array. So we have a lot of cool stuff that's coming out here on workloads, security, ransomware. And for us, this platform is very easy to use. It's a great management experience, but it's also it's a confluence of innovation, performance, security, but while addressing a bunch of needs for our customers that have to report out on some of their the things that we do on CO2 emission, right? What we're doing around sustainability. There's some customers in this room that I worked with personally on how to get this data. This is like page one of their company prospectus every quarter, right, on how what you're doing to reduce carbon footprint, producing a very sustainable platform. And so for us, this is a great answer for this around fewer components, lower power consumption, best performance per energy ratio, and we'll report on that directly with OpsRamp in our Sustainability Insight Center. So top of mind for us. So we talk about the architecture specifically. We've got a couple different things we offer, right? In the land of structured data, right, around block storage, we have Alletra MP, and we essentially just released our 4th version of this. We have another operating system coming out, another version of it coming out later this calendar year, where we're going to be talking about some newer scaled front end HCAs. We're talking about QLC-based media now for customers that have a little bit more of a cost-conscious approach. We've got a number of things around multiple protocols on our block arrays. So a lot of innovation going on here. 100% data availability guarantee we provide here. This is the interface that we got for GreenLake for block. One of the cool things that we announced this past month, was we have a number of customers that want to run their data services in a hybrid manner, right? And so what we brought to market was this same GreenLake for block storage, right, that runs on our Alletra MP, disaggregated architecture. We take that software, the software-defined instance of it, right, and we can run it up in the cloud, right? So we just announced GreenLake block storage for AWS, and then we're going to, obviously follow on with some, other supported hyperscalers later on this calendar year. We'll, be providing support for Microsoft Azure and then beyond. And so for us, it's one experience, right? So you can have your on-prem arrays, right? You access them in GreenLake and DSCC. They look like exactly the same, all the same workflows. And then through GreenLake, right, you can add in your AWS credentials, and you're able to provision storage in the cloud the same way you do on-prem, right? And so you can set up a data mobility relationship, and we have a number of customers that were part of our beta program that we're doing this for databases, right, for migration of even some of their VM-based workloads. Same software, same data protection capabilities, same APIs, so you get one experience, seamless data mobility. It's also very high performant, so it actually takes and aggregates multiple resources in Amazon to provide a very resilient, very high performance architecture for block storage running in the cloud, where EBS sometimes falls down in terms of performance and scalability. So, larger LUN sizes, lower latency, et cetera. And so this has been a great area. And then also, on a financial economics perspective, some of our customers have predefined spend, with the hyperscalers. And so this is available in the marketplace. And so we'll go up against some of your AWS spend, or in the future, your Azure spend, right? So it's very good economically. All can be run as single pane of glass through GreenLake for a hybrid cloud experience. And so one of the things I also want to point out that we just came out with is timeless, right? And so as I mentioned before, people are starting to think about storage as data now. So like data lives on forever. And you have to think about that, right? And so now what folks are asking for is a multi-year, when I started in storage, the average support contract or life of an array was 3 years, right? Then it went to 4, then it's 5, and now we have customers that are, sweating their assets 7 to 10 years, right? And so through GreenLake and our timeless platform, we can provide a whole, set of TCO, that's multi-year, that provides a whole, in addition to, maximizing your TCO over 8-10 years, it's going to provide you with a bunch of great stuff, right? So 30-day satisfaction guarantee, so you want to test the system out. Your store more guarantee, so it allows you to, we guarantee data efficiency and data compaction, right? 100% data availability guarantee, right? We put our money where our mouth is. All-inclusive software, so everything around the cloud experience, the software that's on the array, all of this comes with it. No forklift upgrades, so when we come out with the next generation of hardware technology, we can take out the old ones, put in the new ones, and allow you to scale those out horizontally while keeping your data in place. And so up to 30% lower TCO. And so I would say definitely take a look, talk to your channel partner, talk to your sales rep, about this. It's fantastic. So at this point, when I talked about the technology, right, it comes to life through the way our customers are using it. So I'd like to welcome Alan up here.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. Maybe you could just talk for a couple minutes about what you're doing with Shawbrook's all about and what your role is.
Yeah, so Shawbrook is a UK specialist bank. It was born during the financial crisis because a lot of the major banks were not serving the more complex customers. Shawbrook used this as a niche point to get in with the complex customers, and we was able to have a vast range of customers as a result of that.
Cool.
The problem is that comes with its own challenges because there's a lot of different technologies, a lot of different use cases. So we need the best of tech along with the best of people. So our business strategy is around best of both. So we partner with best of tech, in this case HPE as well as others, but also we bring in the best class of people. So we really have a unique part. And my role as Director of Corporate Technology, I look after the on-premise infrastructure, the end user computing, our managed services, and our application support.
So low-key job, not a lot
no
escalations.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, got it. So you've been an HPE customer for a while. Maybe tell us about HPE experience, some of the products you use. Like, what does the estate look like right now?
So about a year ago, we had HPE Blades with 3PAR, but we had an issue in October and we'll get onto that shortly, and I'll explain how HPE helped us. But we've now since upgraded to HPE Electra MP, along with ProLiant Gen 11s.
Cool. In that sort of experience, upgrading, obviously you've got multiple generations. Why do you keep partnering with HPE? And then sort of like a follow-on would be, if you were, king for the day in product management, what would you have the engineers working on?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, we had a big outage in October last year. And this is one of the main reasons we've continued our relationship with HPE, because what it showed was HPE, along with our reseller partners, were truly that. They were partners. They felt the same pain that we did. They worked tirelessly for days to bring us back online. And as a result, we then had workshops with in the CIC in London with various different technical people to redesign what our server and storage should look like. So we went to them with our problem, and rather than us just asking what we wanted, we were designing as a partnership with HPE, and that sort of set you aside from the other vendors we reached out to at the time, because it wasn't a done deal that we was going to refresh with HPE.
That's great. Because everyone loves, data migration, life cycling of infrastructure. Once you did decide on that next generation sort of infrastructure, what the design would be with HPE's help, I know you moved from a 3-par to the Electra. Obviously, you're moving to Gen 11. What did that migration look like? Maybe take us through that transition.
So following October, we had the meeting in November with HPE. We redesigned what it was going to look like. We placed the order in January. It then was delivered in March, and within 3 months, working with HPE, we racked, configured, and migrated all of our production and non-production workload across. So it was around 700 virtual machines, all production data, and it was seamless to the business and our customers.
That's great. That's great. Now I know that and I'd heard this a lot over and over. Probably starting about 3 or 4 years ago. You were sort of cloud first, right? Has that changed? Is it more sort of hybrid cloud, horses for courses? What does it look like for you now?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think we invented a new phrase of cloud sensible. So what we now look at as a hybrid workflow offering is we run a set of principles against every system and against every workload, and work out where that is best to run, whether it be cloud, whether it be on-premise, but it's really down to the workload and what we're trying to get out of it for our colleagues, our customers, uptime, security, and a vast range of principles as a basis of that. But we are hybrid. We are a true hybrid now.
And so like being, having a hybrid cloud estate, and we're talking about data here, we talked to you about the GreenLake block storage for AWS. Is that something you're taking a look at? What's the sort of point of view?
So we're currently going through a data center strategy at the moment, and AWS, the block storage for AWS is something we are seriously considering. Part of a lot of UK regulations is we need to have a lot of contingency for on-premise and cloud. So we have to look at all the different options and make sure we can remain available to our customers for as much time as possible in the day.
Okay, good. So it seems like any strategy has to have an AI strategy, yes. Right? And obviously there's been a lot of innovation and talk around AI. What are you all thinking for AI? Is that part of the plan?
We don't think AI will take off.
You've heard it here.
Yeah, seriously. So we use Copilot for our developers and our business. Cool. So our colleagues are making a lot of use of that. We run a lot of data analytics with our structured data, and we're getting a lot of benefit from that. But we're now toying with using new technologies to interrogate public data combined with our unstructured data to get in-life analysis and support for our customers. So we really take a customer-first approach. So we really want to bring the customer into the room with us whenever we're looking at doing business, and we want to feel that we know their business as well as they do, so they don't feel that they're trying to sell us something. We're trying to just be a good partner, the same as HPE.
Yep, great. I guess last question would be, so on the backs of sort of a tough situation, we came in talked about sort of next generation architecture. We've realized that that's running. Like when you take a look at things that you guys are trying to achieve 18 to 24 months down the road, what does that look like for you all?
So we're still very much staying customer focused. We are bringing AI much more together with that to get more greater insights. I think with the introduction of the Electra and the new server and storage, we have really started to see the benefits from a company-wide perspective. So ESG, we've gone from 1.5 cabs down to half a cab. We have reduced our SQL latency, so it's now under 5 milliseconds, whereas Microsoft's best practice is less than 10 milliseconds, so we're well within that budget. And we're just going to continually evolve and then see what other workloads fit well within our data center strategy and our hybrid strategy, and just make the best possible solution for our colleagues as well as our customers to keep the bank running. I mean, we've had a very successful 2023. We made 300 million profit before tax, but also we run a 38% cost to income ratio, wow, which for any bank is pretty world leading. So it comes with the strategy of tech and data with people again.
That's awesome. All right, hey, can you all give a round of applause to Alan for sharing that story? Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Thanks. So I love those stories because we started off with the tech, right? Oh my God, and the system went down, right? You guys got to help me back kind of line. Hey, we've taken a look at this during the support experience. Maybe we should talk about a re-architecture. Where are you at? Let's help you on the journey. Obviously realizing some really good business benefits, especially for a financial institution. You guys are measuring that at a pretty granular level. So that's awesome. Thank you very much. So we talk about Alan talked a little bit about how he's implementing AI. I think one of the things, and for some of the, if anybody was in some of the earlier sessions, with NVIDIA, actually they will say, it's funny, they'll say, they'll talk about their technology, but they'll say it kind of tongue in cheek, but even like the GPUs are important, their software is important, CUDA is important, but like literally at the end of the day, they say the most important thing about this is the data, right? Because that's really what they need to get access to be able to process it, gain the insights. So super important, and there's a lot of different storage capabilities and requirements as part of the pipeline, right? So data ingestion, data analytics, you've got data exploration and preparation, which is a huge issue for our customers. And then, when we think about accelerators, folks that are doing some, just starting their journey around, model training, and then ultimately inferencing, they all have different capabilities and needs, right, on the storage side, right? And so some of them are more performance oriented, some of them are more capacity oriented when you think about data lakes, and they're all part of the workflow, moving forward. So some of them performance optimized, throughput optimized, capacity optimized. So it's not sort of like a one size fits all for customers. And so when you think about where we are in the workflow, right? Higher IOPS, higher throughput, lower IOPS, lower throughput. You've got things like data lakes, higher performance storage, node local storage, right? And those fit the various parts of the AI workflow. And when we think about some of the solutions that we provide as singular storage offerings, but as well as part of our, for example, our engineered systems for AI, right? Like we talked about PC for AI today, right? We've got, a fantastic solution that, we've been focusing on, which is the GreenLake for file storage, right? Which hits some of the higher performance, the scaled storage, and you can couple that with, some of the existing data lake technology that's out there. And so for us, this is a really interesting solution. Again, built on a disaggregated architecture, right? We're really confident and really invested in making this work, right? Because it really helps you from scale small, scale for performance, scale for capacity, scale independent of each other, allows you to do workload lifecycling, infrastructure lifecycling, right? So single flexible solution. This is for customers that are doing model development, model training, model deployment, streaming analytics, things like Spark, Kafka, right? A whole bunch of things that are going to require file at scale, throughput, in addition to object storage, right? Oftentimes the data pipeline for AI both includes file as well as S3 access. So we just brought out a new solution for GreenLake for file storage, super dense, right? So you can start off with what we call a C node, right? Your compute node, very dense, 4 I/O modules in a 2U configuration. And then in a 1U rack unit, you've got a JBOF that will hold almost 2 petabytes of NVMe, right? And that's the base configuration, right? And so you can scale that out into, we have customers that start off small, right? 500 terabytes, a petabyte, 2 petabytes. We have customers that are implementing and deploying at scale 50, 80, even 100 petabytes, right? And those are for folks who are building models, doing quite a bit of streaming analytics. And so this base solution that we have, which also provides an intuitive cloud experience, right? It's plugged into GreenLake. You'll see the GreenLake file tile, right, where you can do your share provisioning, all of your capacity. You can do your security, data protection. It is also part of a number of the solutions that we've created, actually announced this week, right? So one of the things that we're finding is, as part of this, right, there's a lot of the work that goes on that gets started by the data scientists, right? And usually those folks are in a different group and they don't talk to the people in operations, right? It's sort of a classic, shadow IT, I'm gonna start this up, I'm gonna run it on my laptop, I'm gonna find some server, some CPUs in the data center and go run for this. But what we're finding now is that these workloads are becoming business critical, if not mission critical, as part of a pipeline. And we are designing systems in collaboration with NVIDIA to provide, essentially a converged engineered system for AI, right? So it's going to provide you accelerators, compute, networking, and storage. And so one of the fundamental capabilities around this AI proposition is around storage and data. And NVIDIA doesn't, manufacture any storage components, so they partner with HPE. And so we just essentially certified this solution in particular for what they call DGX base pod, right? So those are the systems that are, supplied by NVIDIA, as well as OVX, right, which is essentially a reference configuration that looks and smells exactly like a DGX machine, but you can build it on your own through our, the OEM providers, right? So HPE DL380s with, L40S GPUs, for example. And so what we do is, so these are certified solutions. They're going to provide you InfiniBand, RDMA. It's going to provide you with what's called GPU Direct, right? So it's GPUs, expensive, hard to find, right now. I think it's going to be a little bit more democratized next year. You want to basically maximize that investment by letting those GPU run all the time. That requires a new type of storage that's focused on first performance and then scalability. So GPU Direct, very important to be able to map unstructured data right through memory into the GPUs. And then we use this as a building block to essentially create a set of engineered solutions from HPE and NVIDIA that's going to provide you an incredibly easy day zero experience. So, a couple click installation. It's going to provide you with an amazing day one operational experience. And this is all mode 2 workloads, right? So you're talking about AI, ML applications, PyTorch, H2O.ai, all these stateful containers that run in a containerized fashion on Linux with a job scheduler. So we take all that together with our MLOps and MLDE and a number of the things we provide on the software side, compute, networking, all the fabric technology and the storage. And then for day 2 operations and beyond, we'll be able to life cycle this equipment. And then we'll be able to do a lot of the things that, aren't super sexy, right? Back it up. Make sure you can, it's got DR capabilities, right? One of the big things that our customer advisory board last month was a simple problem. Hey, I've got a bunch of data scientists and I can't correlate who's using the most storage, right? Simple problem, but in the world of like Kubernetes and containers, you don't have all the same sort of facilities that you have in VMware and sort of traditional storage architectures. So we help with that. We help operationalize this. We help manage it through GreenLake, so you can have your bare metal, your databases, your virtualized workloads, working in concert with your Mode 2 and what are now being called some Mode 3 workloads as well too. So a lot of innovation going on, and really what we're kind of basing this at the end of the day is unified data management, many different workloads, right? We talked about Mode 1 workloads, Mode 2 workloads, based on a really scalable hardware architecture. So we can do block, we can do file, we can do object. We can scale that up to provide a private cloud experience for your databases and your virtual machines. We can provide that for your private cloud for AI now, that it's what we announced yesterday. And then some of the other personas that we do is, we can take that same architecture, we can run it in the public cloud, right? We talked about block storage for AWS. We can, certainly protect this from a backup perspective, run it as a software defined. In addition to, these components here also provide capabilities with Cyber Vault. This is actually really, for folks that are, interested in security, this is a super popular solution. We're demoing on the show floor. So a way to, essentially take your most important workloads, vault them, help you avoid, ransomware attacks. So for us, just kind of back to where we started, hybrid approach. We're here to optimize your resources, provide really good storage platforms for all of your data needs, simplify your operations through GreenLake. GreenLake is more than a consumption model. It's a fully blown, scaled cloud operational experience for our customers. We want to work with you all to accelerate, your projects, make sure they're successful, accelerate your innovation, and ultimately help you drive your growth, as Alan pointed to, profitability, making sure you have all the resources you need, but not too many, right? Because that hits the bottom line. And so we're here to not only help you with the technology outcomes, but certainly make sure you hit the mark on the business outcomes, right? And so thank you very much for joining us today. I would say, if you get a chance to go down on the show floor, all of this is on the show floor. We provide great demos, all the subject matter experts, and again, patrick.osborne@hpe.com. Find me on LinkedIn. Happy to talk after the thing. But thank you so much for coming out to Discover. I hope you enjoyed today's show. Thanks, Alan. Appreciate it. But thanks for spending your time here, and have the great rest of your Discover, okay? Thank you.